Hey everyone, welcome back to Alpha Insights. I'm Neva.
And I'm Kristen. Great to have you with us. And hey, if you have questions while you're listening, drop them at stockalpha.ai.
Quick top line today. The cannabis space is getting pulled in two directions. You've got promising policy shifts in the US and parts of Europe, but then some sharp reversals overseas and tighter rules in other places. That kind of push and pull is what moves revenue access and valuations in this sector.
Totally. Headlines were driving trading more than earnings today, which is pretty common for cannabis. A few specific items to flag. One big story is a reported move in Thailand toward recriminalizing cannabis after an initial liberalization, which could wipe out what had been about a $1 billion local market.
That's a brutal reminder of political risk when companies chase international licenses. You can build operations quickly, but if the political winds shift, those licenses can lose most of their value overnight.
Exactly. On the flip side, domestically, there was an interesting legal development. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives proposed an interim rule to stop automatically denying firearm purchases for someone who has a single past use of cannabis. It doesn't reschedule cannabis federally, but it reduces one of those collateral penalties people face.
Right? It's not a game changer for federal policy, but it could loosen some labor market friction and lower compliance headaches for companies hiring folks with past use. So that's a modestly constructive development for the industry.
And then there's strategy on the operator side. Brand's head of strategy, Joe Byrne, talked about a so-called day two shift, basically moving away from low-margin canopy expansion and doubling down on branded products. That's something investors should watch, because brand-led models can deliver better margins if distribution opens up interstate.
I like that point. If federal changes eventually allow more cross-state activity, the brands with national recognition and retail access could scale revenue faster than companies that only focus on cultivation capacity.
Europe had a mixed read today, too. Spain approved some cannabis-based medical treatments, but critics say the framework is narrow. And the big European Industry Conference, ICBC Berlin, is coming back in mid-April. Organizers warn tickets will get more expensive if you wait. Those events are where you see partnership signals and deal flow.
Meanwhile, at the state level back here, some lawmakers are still moving bills that affect hemp and related products. South Dakota advanced action on banning intoxicating hemp products and kratom, which raises regulatory risk for producers of hemp-derived goods.
So what should listeners be watching? And how might they position? First, track the Federal Register for formal filings from the ATF. An interim rule, a final rule, or court action could change the compliance landscape. Second, keep an eye on state legalization votes. Those are the quickest growth levers for multi-state operators and branded players.
And don't forget international risk. If you own names tied to Thailand or other foreign markets, those holdings are exposed to abrupt policy reversals. For many investors, that argues for leaning into the main U.S. cannabis ETF and brand-focused companies, rather than bets on operators with heavy foreign footprints.
If you're watching names for sentiment, watch Trulieve, Green Thumb, Curaleaf, Tilray, and the broad U.S. cannabis ETF for price action. Those tend to move with sector headlines. But check real-time quotes. Intraday news still sparks sharp swings.
Quick practical takeaway. This is a sector of two speed tracks. Domestic policy and brand strategy are constructive, but international recriminalization and narrow regulations are real headwinds. A selective approach is sensible.
Also worth noting, research shows reform is bringing more women and older adults into the legal industry, which could help fill labor gaps and broaden demand if companies can convert that interest into jobs and product consumption.
Good reminder. All right, let's wrap with our headline takeaways.
1. Watch federal rulemaking from the ATF and state legalization votes. Those are the nearest term catalysts.
2. Favor diversified exposure and brand-heavy players over companies tied to politically risky foreign markets.
3. Industry events in Europe and evolving state rules can change sentiment fast. Be ready for volatility.
Got questions? We'd love to hear from you. Head over to stockalpha.ai where you can ask us anything and we'll answer live. And while you're there, check out more market content.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back with more market moves tomorrow. Stay curious.